James Blackwell slams Amara's portfolio down, pouring coffee across her documents. Clean that up if you want any chance here. Coffee drips onto Amara's suit. Nearby employees avert their eyes. She sits alone in Tech Future's reception area, dignity intact despite the public humiliation. James escorts white candidates past her all day. "Our kind of leadership," he announces loudly enough for Amara to hear. 8 hours later, she still waits. James approaches with security. "Time to leave. Some people just don't understand when they're not the right fit." The elevator doors open. Tech Future's board emerges, led by CEO Charles Wilson. "Dr. Davis, there you are," he calls warmly, embracing her. James freezes. Charles continues, "Everyone, meet Dr. Amara Davis, our newest board member following the OperX acquisition." Amara turns to James, revealing the board member badge she's worn all day. "Mr. Blackwell and I have had quite the illuminating day. What would you do if someone tried to humiliate you professionally? Share in the comments below." The color drains from James's face as 8 hours of discrimination catastrophically backfires. Tech Future Industries occupies the top 10 floors of a gleaming skyscraper. The 44th floor executive suite radiates exclusivity with its glass walls, modern art, and panoramic city views. Power is visible in every design choice. Amara Davis arrives 15 minutes early for her 8:30 appointment with James Blackwell, VP of Operations. Her tailored navy suit speaks of confidence and professionalism. Her resume shows an impressive track record of operational excellence and strategic leadership. The receptionist, Tiffany, looks up with a practiced smile that falters when she sees Amara. "I have an 8:30 with James Blackwell," Amara states, her voice warm but authoritative. Tiffany makes a show of checking the schedule twice. Let me confirm that's still on his calendar." She emphasizes "still" with subtle skepticism. The call goes unanswered. Tiffany shrugs. "He must be in an early meeting. You can wait if you'd like." Amara takes a seat, placing her leather portfolio on her lap. Through the glass partitions, she observes the office dynamics. Executive offices line the perimeter, all occupied by white men. At 8:45, James Blackwell strides through the reception area. He's tall, confident, dressed in an expensive suit that matches his silver hair. He glances at Amara without acknowledgement. Minutes later, a white man in a less expensive suit arrives. "I'm here to see James Blackwell," he announces. Tiffany immediately calls James's office. James appears instantly, hand extended. "Thomas, right on time, come on back." Amara watches as James escorts Thomas through the security doors, clapping him on the shoulder like an old friend. 3 more candidates arrive over the next hour. All white, all male, all immediately welcomed. At 9:15, Amara approaches the desk again. "Could you please check on my appointment status?" Tiffany's tone shifts to barely concealed condescension. "Mr. Blackwell is extremely busy today. These things happen. If you want to wait, that's your choice." Through the glass partition, Amara spots James laughing with colleagues in the break room. He makes brief eye contact with her, then deliberately turns his back. Amara returns to her seat, maintaining her composure. She opens her briefcase slightly, revealing glimpses of documents bearing Tech Future's corporate seal. She discreetly observes how staff interact. The few people of color occupy support roles. They speak less in meetings. Their suggestions receive less acknowledgement. She notes how a young black employee's idea is dismissed, only to be praised minutes later when repeated by a white colleague. She watches the subtle ways hierarchies are enforced through interruptions, physical space, and selective attention. Amara pulls out her phone, appearing to check messages while taking strategic notes. What are those official Tech Future documents hidden in her briefcase? The reception area fills with morning activity. Employees stream in, most avoiding eye contact with Amara. By 10:30, she's been waiting for 2 hours without acknowledgement. Amara approaches Tiffany's desk again. "I'd like to confirm my appointment with Mr. Blackwell. It was scheduled for 8:30 this morning." She displays the email confirmation on her phone. Tiffany's lips tighten. She reluctantly picks up the phone, this time reaching James. Her voice shifts to honeyed tones. "So sorry to bother you, Mr. Blackwell. There's someone insisting she has an appointment with you." James emerges from his office, irritation visible in his stride. He stops several feet from Amara, assessing her with undisguised contempt. "Do you have any idea how busy I am?" His voice carries, drawing attention from nearby employees. "I don't recall approving any meeting with you." Amara remains perfectly composed. "I have our email correspondence confirming 8:30 this morning." She holds up her phone. "We were scheduled to discuss operational strategy improvements." James scoffs, not bothering to look at the evidence. "That must have been a mistake. My assistant wouldn't have scheduled someone without proper vetting." He emphasizes proper with unmistakable meaning. Several employees pause to watch the confrontation. James seems to enjoy the audience. "I meet with qualified candidates personally recommended by my network." His emphasis on qualified drips with condescension. Amara doesn't flinch. "My qualifications include 3 successful operational turnarounds and a PhD in organizational psychology." Her voice remains calm, authoritative. James waves dismissively. "You can leave your resume with reception. If something seems relevant to our needs, someone might contact you." "I'll continue waiting as we agreed," Amara states. "My schedule is clear for the day." James's face tightens with annoyance. "Suit yourself. Waste your day if you want." He turns to Tiffany, speaking loudly enough for others to hear. "Don't bother me again about this, and don't offer her any refreshments. We're not a charity." He walks away, shoulders squared with the confidence of unquestioned authority. A young white assistant hurries past Amara, accidentally bumping her shoulder without apologizing. The assistant hands James a folder, receiving immediate praise. "Excellent work, Jessica. This is exactly what I needed." Amara returns to her seat, maintaining her dignity. She notices security personnel giving her suspicious glances. One approaches, requesting to see her visitor badge for the second time that morning. "Just routine security," he claims, though he hasn't checked anyone else's credentials. A mid-level manager passes by, whispering to Tiffany while glancing at Amara. Tiffany nods and picks up the phone. "Should we have security escort her out?" Amara overhears. "She's been here for hours." Will security forcibly remove Amara despite her legitimate appointment? The wall clock ticks past noon. Amara maintains her composed demeanor despite 4 hours of deliberate neglect. She observes James escorting Thomas, the morning's first candidate, from his office. They laugh together, making lunch plans. "Morton's at 1 o'clock, James says loudly. "We'll continue our discussion there. The executive team always appreciates candidates who understand proper business etiquette." James notices Amara still waiting. His eyes narrow with irritation, then spark with malicious intent. He steers Thomas toward the reception area. "Thomas here just crushed his interview," James announces, his voice projecting for maximum audience. "Harvard MBA, family connections in 3 industries, that's our standard." He claps Thomas's shoulder. "Fit matters as much as qualifications on paper." Thomas shifts uncomfortably but says nothing. James turns directly to Amara. "See that woman? Been waiting all day." His tone drips with mock concern. Persistence isn't always a virtue, especially when you're not a good fit. 2 nearby employees pretend to focus on their phones. A third walks quickly toward the elevator, avoiding the scene. "Some people just don't understand corporate culture," James continues, louder still. "It's not always about credentials on paper." Amara meets his gaze directly, her expression neutral, but her eyes sharp with intelligence. Her unwavering dignity clearly irritates James. He points to coffee spilled on a nearby table. "Since you're determined to stay, make yourself useful. Clean that up before the afternoon meetings. Thomas stares at the floor, visibly uncomfortable. Show us you understand service roles, James adds with a thin smile. Several employees look away, embarrassed by their leader's behavior, but unwilling to intervene. A young employee starts toward Amara with a sympathetic expression, but a senior colleague pulls her back with a warning glance. Amara doesn't move toward the spill. Instead, she calmly takes out her notebook and writes something down, as if documenting the interaction. James's smile falters. Did you hear me? I heard you requesting that I, a professional here for a scheduled interview, perform janitorial duties as a condition of receiving the interview I was promised, Amara replies evenly. I'm simply noting the request and the time. James flushes with anger. I don't think you understand your position here. What position is that, Mr. Blackwell? Amara asks, her voice calm but firm. This attitude is exactly why... He stops abruptly, aware of listening ears. Why what? Amara presses. Flustered by her composure, James changes tactics. Security will show you out if you can't follow simple directions, he signals to a nearby guard. The guard approaches reluctantly. Sir, she does have a valid visitor pass for a scheduled meeting. Her meeting was canceled, James snaps. She's now creating a disturbance. The guard looks uncertainly between them. Amara shows him her email confirmation again. He hesitates, clearly uncomfortable with James's false claim. Are you questioning my authority? James demands. I want her gone, now. Amara gathers her belongings with deliberate slowness. I'll step outside for lunch, then return for my appointment. I suggest you check your calendar again, Mr. Blackwell. As she walks toward the elevator, employees whisper. James smirks, believing he's won. But just before the elevator doors close, Amara makes a brief phone call, speaking too quietly for others to hear. Who is Amara calling? And what resources does she have that James hasn't anticipated? In a quiet corner of the cafe across the street, Amara selects a table with a clear view of Tech Future's entrance. The waiter recognizes quality as he approaches, her tailored suit, her confident posture, the subtle but expensive watch on her wrist. Just green tea, please, she requests, opening her briefcase fully for the first time. Inside lies her true identity, Dr. Amara Davis, newly appointed to Tech Future's board of directors following their acquisition of her operational excellence consultancy, Operex Solutions. Today was meant to be a covert assessment of the company's operations before her board position became public knowledge. Amara makes several calls in sequence, her voice never rising but carrying unmistakable authority. First to her executive assistant, Denise, document everything from today. I need time-stamped notes of all interactions with James Blackwell, starting with our email correspondence. Include the exact times I was kept waiting and all subsequent interactions. She sips her tea, reviewing the morning's observations in her notebook. Also, pull the diversity metrics for Tech Future's executive teams. Focus on operations under Blackwell. I want 5-year trends, hiring, promotions, and departures. Next, she calls a number saved as CEO Tech Future. Charles Wilson answers immediately. Charles, it's Amara. The operational assessment is revealing more than anticipated. Problems? His concern is evident. Yes, exactly as we feared. The culture issues run deeper than financial indicators suggested. Should I intervene? No, don't interrupt the process. I need to see how deep this goes. Her voice remains calm, but resolute. I need to understand if what I'm experiencing is systemic or isolated to Blackwell's department. Amara opens her laptop, accessing Tech Future's internal performance dashboard through her board portal. The numbers tell a revealing story. Departments under James Blackwell show the highest turnover rates in the company, particularly among minorities and women. Exit interviews repeatedly cite culture issues that Human Resources has consistently marked as resolved without evidence of action. She pulls up James's personnel file. His rapid promotions contrast with stalled careers of several highly qualified diverse candidates. Multiple complaints appear in his record, each discreetly buried by upper management connections. A text arrives from Charles. Board arrives at 5 p.m. for quarterly review. We'll keep your role confidential until then as requested. Amara responds, perfect. Let's see how James handles the revelation. She finishes her tea, her plan crystallizing. The morning's humiliation wasn't just an attack on her dignity, it was a symptom of entrenched discrimination that had been hurting employees for years. Returning to Tech Future's lobby at 1:30 p.m., Amara notes Tiffany's surprised expression. You're back? The receptionist doesn't hide her annoyance. I'll continue waiting for my scheduled appointment, Amara replies evenly. Tiffany makes a show of checking the system. Your appointment isn't here anymore. It must have been canceled. Interesting, Amara notes. Please check the system logs to see who removed it and when. Tiffany freezes, unprepared for this request. I don't have access to those logs. I understand, Amara says. I'll just document that the appointment was mysteriously removed after I arrived. She makes a note in her phone. From her seat in the lobby, Amara watches James interact with his team. She observes how he interrupts women but gives men time to speak, how he takes credit for a younger black employee's idea, how he casually touches female employees' shoulders while maintaining professional distance with men. Amara makes more notes, occasionally taking photos of the office layout with her phone. A security guard approaches to stop her, but she simply shows him something on her phone that makes him quickly back away with an apology. What did Amara show the security guard that made him retreat so quickly? The afternoon crawls forward. Amara's continued presence clearly unnerves James. He glances repeatedly at reception from his glass-walled office, his irritation visibly growing with each hour. By 3 p.m., James can no longer contain his frustration. He storms to reception, looming over Amara's seated form. You're still here? His voice rises sharply. This is becoming harassment. Several employees pause their work, watching the confrontation unfold. Amara meets his gaze calmly. I've been waiting peacefully for my confirmed appointment. How is that harassment? James leans closer, lowering his voice to a threatening whisper. Listen, let me be clear. We don't have a position for someone like you. Understanding corporate subtext would save us both time. Someone like me? Amara repeats, her voice neutral but her eyes intensely focused. James glances around, suddenly aware of potential witnesses. He straightens, switching tactics. Your qualifications don't align with our needs, he declares more professionally. I'm trying to spare you further embarrassment. My resume lists 20 years in operational excellence, 3 successful company turnarounds, and a PhD in organizational psychology, Amara states. Which specific qualification concerns you? James's jaw tightens. It's about fit. Our culture requires a certain presence and leadership style. Could you elaborate on that leadership style? Amara asks, her phone recording discreetly activated beneath her portfolio. We need assertive, authoritative leadership that commands natural respect, James says, gesturing vaguely toward the executive offices. People who understand how business really works. And you don't see those qualities in me because... Amara presses. James's face flushes. Don't twist this into something it's not. I make decisions based on merit alone. Then perhaps we should have that interview to discuss my merits, Amara suggests reasonably. James checks his watch with exaggerated impatience. I have a board meeting at 5. This conversation is finished. He turns to Tiffany. If she's not gone by 4, call security for real this time. As James walks away, his assistant hurries after him with a folder. Sir, I've been trying to tell you there's a note from the CEO about today's board meeting. Something about a new member joining. James waves dismissively without looking at the folder. Not now, David. I need to prepare my quarterly presentation. From her seat, Amara notices a young employee being berated by James for a minor error. The employee, a woman of color, blinks back tears as James publicly criticizes her work. "This is exactly what I mean about standards," James says loudly enough for nearby staff to hear. "Some people just don't have what it takes." The young woman nods silently, clutching her files to her chest. Amara makes another note, her expression revealing nothing of her thoughts. What critical information is James ignoring in that folder about the board meeting? The clock shows 4 p.m. Employees cast frequent glances toward Amara, their curiosity mixed with discomfort. Her unwavering patience has become the day's unspoken office drama. James paces in his office, visibly agitated. He summons his assistant with a sharp gesture. David approaches Amara moments later, his discomfort evident. He's young, professionally dressed, but lacking James's arrogant confidence. "Mr. Blackwell wants me to inform you that if you don't leave voluntarily, security will escort you out." David delivers the message formally, but his tone lacks conviction. Amara smiles reassuringly. "What's your name?" The unexpected kindness catches him off guard. "David." "David, I understand you're just doing your job. Please tell Mr. Blackwell I'll leave when my scheduled business is concluded." David shifts his weight nervously. He's really angry. I've never seen him like this. "Does he often get angry with staff?" Amara asks conversationally. David glances around, lowering his voice. "I probably shouldn't say this, but yes, especially with certain people." "Certain people?" Amara prompts gently. "Women, minorities." David's voice drops further. He's careful around executives and clients, but with everyone else. He trails off, then straightens his posture. "I should get back." "Thank you for your honesty, David." As David returns to James's office, Amara notices Tiffany on the phone, glancing her way with obvious disdain. Minutes later, 2 security guards approach, one older and clearly senior, the other younger and visibly uncomfortable. "Ma'am, we need you to leave the premises," the senior guard states firmly. Amara remains seated. "On what grounds?" "Mr. Blackwell says you've been loitering without an appointment." Amara displays her email confirmation again. "I have a documented appointment that was unilaterally canceled after I arrived. That raises serious questions about professional conduct and possibly discrimination." The younger guard's eyes widen slightly. The senior guard frowns. "I don't want any part of a discrimination case," the younger guard whispers to his colleague. The senior guard makes a decision. "We'll give you until 4:30, but then we really have to insist." As they walk away, Amara notices increased activity near the executive conference room. Staff members arrange water pitchers and portfolios around the large table. Name placards are being placed at each seat. James emerges from his office carrying presentation materials. He freezes when he sees Amara still seated in reception. His face darkens as he marches toward the security desk. Through the glass walls of the conference room, preparations for the board meeting continue. Executive assistants arrange materials methodically. Amara watches as they place name placards around the table. One remains face down, unreadable from her position. Several executives begin arriving for the pre-meeting briefing. They glance curiously at Amara as they pass reception. A few exchange whispers, looking between her and James's retreating figure. Tiffany's phone rings. Her expression changes as she listens, her eyes darting to Amara with new uncertainty. What name is on that face-down placard that has Tiffany suddenly nervous? The reception area grows tense as 4:40 p.m. approaches. James returns with the head of security, a stern-looking man named Frank. His silver badge identifies him as Chief of Corporate Security. "This is your final warning," James says, barely containing his anger. "Leave now or face trespassing charges." Several employees linger nearby, pretending to review documents while watching the confrontation. Frank looks uncomfortable but professional. Ma'am, I need to ask you to come with me. Amara stands, gathering her belongings with deliberate slowness. Before we proceed, Frank, I'd like to clarify something. Does Tech Future have a policy regarding canceled appointments? Specifically, is there documentation when meetings are removed from the system? Frank hesitates, caught off guard by the specific question. Yes, all calendar changes are logged automatically. Why? Excellent, Amara says. Then there should be a record of who canceled my appointment and when. I'd like that information included in any trespassing report. James interrupts impatiently. This is ridiculous. I'm a VP. I don't need to justify my calendar management to visitors. Actually, Frank says cautiously, company policy requires documentation for security purposes. All system changes are logged with user credentials. James's face reddens. Are you questioning me too? Just remove her. The elevator doors open with a soft chime. Several executives exit, heading toward the boardroom. James glances nervously at the clock. 4:45 p.m. Frank, handle this now, James orders, his tone abruptly shifting as he turns toward the arriving executives. His face transforms into a mask of professional charm. Good afternoon, everyone. Looking forward to our productive discussion. Frank leads Amara toward the elevator, speaking quietly. I apologize for this situation, ma'am. If you feel you've been treated unfairly, I can provide information about filing a formal complaint. Thank you, Frank. That won't be necessary, Amara responds calmly. I believe the situation will resolve itself shortly. The elevator opens again. Charles Wilson, Tech Future's CEO, steps out with the remaining board members. James is now trying to usher Amara and Frank around a corner out of sight. James, Charles calls out. There you are! We're starting a few minutes early today. James freezes, caught between his desire to remove Amara and his obligation to the board. Sweat beads visibly on his forehead. Of course, sir. I just need one moment to handle a security matter. Charles glances over, his eyes meeting Amara's. A flash of recognition crosses his face, quickly concealed. What security matter? Charles asks, walking toward them. The remaining executives watch with interest. Employees have stopped pretending to work, openly observing the unfolding drama. James steps between Charles and Amara. Nothing important, sir. Just a persistent visitor who's overstayed her welcome. Charles peers around James, his expression unreadable. And who might this visitor be? How will Charles handle this confrontation? And what will happen when James realizes who Amara really is? Charles, Amara calls warmly, stepping around Frank. Perfect timing. The atmosphere in the reception area shifts instantly. All eyes move between Amara, Charles, and James, whose expression cycles rapidly through confusion, shock, and dawning horror. Charles embraces Amara professionally. Dr. Davis, I see you've been getting acquainted with our operations. He glances at James. I hope everyone has been welcoming. James pales visibly, his mind racing to recalibrate the situation. Dr. Davis has been waiting for an appointment with me, he interjects quickly. Unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding with scheduling. A misunderstanding? Amara raises an eyebrow. Is that what we're calling it? Charles looks between them, his pleasant expression unchanged, but his eyes sharpening with interest. James, I'm confused. Didn't you receive my memo? Dr. Amara Davis is our newest board member following the acquisition of her company, OperX Solutions. James swallows hard, swallows. Board member? Yes, Charles continues calmly. Dr. Davis is conducting an operational assessment before formally announcing her position. I specifically asked you to meet with her today. The other board members have gathered around now. Patricia Chen, the board chair, steps forward. Her tailored suit and direct gaze project authority equal to any man in the room. Dr. Davis, Your reputation precedes you. Patricia extends her hand. Your work in operational excellence and inclusive workplace practices is exactly what Tech Future needs. James attempts damage control, his voice strained with forced casualness. There must have been a miscommunication. I had no idea Dr. Davis was joining the board. Amara opens her portfolio, retrieving a folder. Interesting. I have your response confirming our 8:30 a.m. meeting. She extracts a printed email. You even mentioned looking forward to discussing my unique perspective on operational improvements. Charles frowns. James, what's going on? Before James can respond, Amara continues. I've been here since 8:15 a.m. Despite confirmation, I was made to wait all day. Mr. Blackwell saw me several times but claimed he was too busy. Her voice remains professional, devoid of accusation but clear in its facts. He also suggested I perform janitorial duties and threatened to have security remove me. The board members' expressions darken. Patricia looks particularly disturbed. Is this true, James? James stammers, sweat now visible on his brow. It's a misunderstanding. I didn't recognize... That's precisely the point, Amara interrupts smoothly. You shouldn't need to recognize someone as a board member to treat them with basic professional courtesy. Frank, the security chief, steps forward. Sir, I can confirm that Mr. Blackwell ordered us to remove Dr. Davis multiple times today. Tiffany has gone pale at her desk, hurriedly clicking through the computer system. Charles addresses the room with calm authority. Let's continue this discussion in the boardroom. Frank, thank you for your honesty. James, Dr. Davis, please join us. As they walk to the boardroom, employees watch wide-eyed. The assistant who bumped into Amara earlier now looks mortified. David, James's assistant, catches Amara's eye and gives her a small, hopeful smile. In the boardroom, Amara takes her seat at the table, her name placard now turned upright next to the CFO's position. James sits across from her, his earlier confidence evaporated. Before we begin our regular agenda, Amara says, I'd like to share observations from my assessment today. She opens her laptop, connecting it to the presentation screen. Charts appear showing departmental diversity metrics, promotion rates by gender and race, and retention statistics. The data clearly shows disparities in James's division compared to company averages. This is just a snapshot, Amara explains, but it suggests systemic issues requiring immediate attention. She plays a short audio recording of James's earlier comments about someone like you and needing leaders who command natural respect. The boardroom falls silent. Several members glance at James with open disapproval. I want to be clear, Amara continues. This isn't about me or today's experience. It's about patterns affecting your employees, your culture, and ultimately, your performance. She displays exit interview data. Talented people are leaving because of these practices. James sits rigid in his chair, his career visibly crumbling before him. Dr. Davis, Charles says carefully, what do you recommend? A comprehensive review of all departments beginning with operations, Amara responds without hesitation. Plus, immediate action to address the concerns documented in these exit interviews that were previously dismissed. Patricia Morris nods. I believe we have much to discuss. She turns to James, including your future with this company. How will the board respond to this damning evidence, and what fate awaits James Blackwell? The board meeting extends for 3 tense hours. James attempts various defenses, claiming misunderstandings, heavy workload pressure, and even suggesting Amara misinterpreted normal business practices. Everyone faces rejection in their career, James argues, leaning forward. Dr. Davis is taking standard interview practices personally. Patricia Chen, the board chair, remains unconvinced. James, the evidence is troubling. Dr. Davis's experience today appears to reflect deeper issues within your department. One difficult day doesn't represent our normal operations, James counters. Amara responds calmly. During my 8 hours in your reception area, I observed 17 interactions between you and staff members. In 15 cases involving women or minorities, you interrupted, dismissed, or criticized them. The 2 white male employees received praise for comparable work. The CFO, Michael Rivera, brings up additional data on his tablet. James, departments under your leadership show the highest turnover costs in the company. He displays a chart for the room. Each departure costs approximately $150,000 in recruitment and training. This isn't just an ethical issue, Rivera emphasizes. It's significantly impacting our bottom line. We've lost $3.2 million in replacement costs from your department alone last year. James shifts uncomfortably. Market competition for talent is fierce. People leave for better offers. Yet our exit interviews tell a different story, Amara notes, displaying the data. 78% cite hostile environment and favoritism as primary reasons for leaving, not compensation or advancement opportunities elsewhere. The chief legal officer, Sarah Thompson, speaks next. I've reviewed the recordings Dr. Davis provided. They potentially constitute discrimination and harassment under current employment law. Her tone is measured but serious. If she were a regular job candidate, we'd be facing serious legal exposure. We need to understand how deep this goes, Charles adds. How many complaints have been filed against James's department? HR's representative, a nervous middle manager named Brian, looks uncomfortable. There have been several. Define several, Patricia presses. Brian consults his tablet. 27 formal complaints in the past 3 years. The board members exchange concerned glances. And what actions were taken? Charles asks. We recommended diversity training for leadership last year, Brian responds hesitantly. But it wasn't implemented due to budgetary concerns. Whose budget decision was that? Charles asks. All eyes turn to James. Operations was under pressure to cut costs, James defends. Training was deemed non-essential compared to technical certifications. Outside the boardroom, word spreads quickly. Employees gather in small groups, whispering. Tiffany is seen frantically updating her resume. David, James's assistant, approaches HR with a file of documented incidents he's witnessed. I've been keeping records, he explains quietly. I didn't know who to tell. By 8 p.m., the board reaches a decision. Charles addresses James. We're placing you on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation. Your company credentials and access are suspended effective immediately. James stands abruptly. This is an overreaction to one misunderstanding. 27 complaints isn't a misunderstanding, Patricia states firmly. It's a pattern. Security waits outside to escort James from the building. Frank personally collects James's badge and electronic devices. As he gathers his belongings, employees watch silently. The power dynamic has completely reversed. Junior staff members who suffered under James's leadership stand straighter, meeting his eyes as he passes. Before leaving, James approaches Amara. This was a setup. You could have identified yourself this morning. Would that have changed how you treated me? Amara asks. Or would it simply have changed who you felt safe mistreating? James has no answer. After James leaves, the board continues meeting with Amara and key department heads. They develop an immediate action plan, a comprehensive review of all promotion and hiring practices, mandatory leadership training on bias and inclusion, anonymous reporting systems for workplace issues, exit interview reforms to ensure concerns reach appropriate levels, performance metrics that include team diversity and inclusion. We need structural changes, not just removing one problematic leader, Amara emphasizes. The culture enabled his behavior for years. The next morning, Charles holds an all-hands meeting. Without naming James directly, he makes it clear that discriminatory behavior won't be tolerated regardless of position. We've failed to live up to our own values, Charles acknowledges. Starting today, that changes. He introduces Amara as their newest board member and announces her temporary oversight of operations during the transition. Dr. Davis will lead our cultural assessment and implementation of new practices, Charles explains. Everyone deserves equal respect and opportunity here. We're committed to making that reality, not just rhetoric. Employees exchange hopeful glances. Several approach Amara after the meeting, sharing their experiences and suggestions. The young woman James had publicly berated approaches hesitantly. "Thank you," she says simply. "Don't thank me yet," Amara responds. "Thank me when the system works for everyone, not just when someone catches the discrimination in action." The transformation begins immediately. HR launches a comprehensive audit of all personnel decisions under James's leadership. Several promotions are found to have bypassed more qualified, diverse candidates. Retroactive adjustments are initiated. Legal reviews settlement options for employees who left due to hostile conditions. The board approves a significant budget for these remediation efforts, acknowledging the company's liability. By week's end, 3 of James's closest allies resign preemptively. 2 others request transfers to different departments. The hierarchy that protected discriminatory practices begins to crumble. Will these changes create lasting reform, or is this just corporate damage control? 2 weeks later, James faces a formal hearing with the board, legal team, and external workplace consultants. He arrives with his attorney, projecting confidence that his connections and tenure will protect him. The hearing room falls silent as James takes his seat opposite the review panel. Amara sits with the board, her position now public knowledge. Several employees James mistreated over the years wait outside to testify. James straightens his tie, leaning toward his attorney with a whispered comment. His smile suggests he believes this is merely procedural, a corporate ritual before his inevitable reinstatement. The hearing begins with formal introductions. The external consultant, Dr. Renee Washington, establishes the process. This is not a criminal proceeding, but a fact-finding review to determine appropriate corporate action. James's attorney presents their defense first. Mr. Blackwell has served TechFuture faithfully for 12 years. One unfortunate day shouldn't overshadow his contributions. He acknowledges communication failures but denies any discriminatory intent. Dr. Washington responds evenly. This investigation goes far beyond one day. She displays a timeline on the screen. We've uncovered a pattern of behavior spanning your entire tenure at TechFuture. The evidence mounts relentlessly. 23 documented instances of discrimination or harassment. Systematic blocking of promotions for qualified, diverse candidates. Manipulation of performance reviews to favor certain employees. Retaliation against those who filed complaints. Former employees testify about opportunities denied, ideas stolen, and careers stalled. Current staff members provide documentation of inappropriate comments and actions. David presents his detailed records of incidents he witnessed as James's assistant. I was instructed to schedule interviews based on names, David testifies. Mr. Blackwell explicitly told me to prioritize candidates with traditional names and deprioritize those that sounded ethnic. James's face darkens. That's an outright lie. His attorney places a restraining hand on his arm, whispering urgently. The evidence continues mounting. HR reveals how complaints were buried or reclassified under James's influence. Financial analysis shows the staggering cost of his discriminatory practices. Over $12 million in turnover, lost productivity, and squandered talent. James looks increasingly uncomfortable as witnesses describe his pattern of behavior. His confident posture gradually collapses into defensive body language. His attorney requests a break to confer privately. The room buzzes with whispered conversations as they leave. When they return 20 minutes later, James's demeanor has changed completely. His earlier arrogance has evaporated. His attorney announces, Mr. Blackwell wishes to resign effective immediately with standard severance. Patricia Morris responds firmly. Resignation is acceptable, but given the findings, no severance package will be offered. Additionally, Tech Future will implement a policy requiring transparent reference checks regarding workplace conduct. That's career suicide. James protests, standing abruptly. No one will hire me. Perhaps that's appropriate, Charles states calmly. Your actions have impacted dozens of careers unfairly. Actions have consequences, James. James collects his belongings with shaking hands. This is a witch hunt. You'll regret losing my expertise. We regret not addressing your behavior sooner, Patricia replies. That's our failure as a board. As James leaves the hearing, he passes David, his former assistant. You betrayed me, James accuses quietly. David stands tall. No, sir. I chose integrity over loyalty to harmful practices. News of James's departure spreads quickly through the industry. Several of his allies in the company resign preemptively as the investigation expands to their departments. Others scramble to demonstrate their commitment to inclusive leadership. Within days, industry publications run articles about Tech Future's leadership reckoning and the appointment of Dr. Amara Davis to spearhead operational reforms. The story becomes a cautionary tale in corporate circles. James, meanwhile, discovers the real consequences of his actions. 3 job offers are rescinded after reference checks. His industry reputation shifts from demanding but effective to liability risk. Former colleagues distance themselves. At an industry conference a month later, James approaches Amara, visibly humbled. His designer suit hangs loosely on his frame. His silver hair appears unkempt. You've destroyed everything I built, he says quietly. Amara regards him steadily. No, James. You did that yourself, one discriminatory action at a time. The difference is, now there are consequences. How will Tech Future transform under Amara's leadership, and can the damage of James's tenure truly be repaired? 6 months later, Tech Future has undergone significant transformation. Under Amara's guidance, the company implements structural changes that become industry benchmarks. The executive floor no longer feels like an exclusive club. Glass walls remain, but the atmosphere has transformed. Diverse teams collaborate openly. Ideas flow across hierarchical lines. People speak with equal confidence regardless of position or background. Amara walks through the operations department, observing the changes firsthand. Transparent promotion criteria now hang prominently in common areas. Diverse review panels evaluate all advancement decisions. No single manager can block a qualified candidate's progress. Our mentorship program has 98 participants now, reports Elena Rodriguez, newly promoted to Director of Talent Development. Executives are paired with promising employees from underrepresented groups. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Tech Future institutes regular culture audits with actionable results. Leadership performance evaluations now include team diversity and retention metrics. Most significantly, zero-tolerance policies for discrimination come with clear enforcement mechanisms. The changes aren't just cosmetic, Charles explains during the quarterly earnings call. Employee retention has improved by 34%, reducing recruitment costs significantly. Innovation metrics show measurable improvement as more diverse teams bring varied perspectives to problem solving. Investors respond positively. The company's stock rises 12% following the call. Industry publications feature Tech Future's transformation in prominent articles. From discrimination scandal to diversity leader, Inside Tech Future's remarkable turnaround, reads one headline. Competing companies begin adopting similar practices, recognizing both the ethical and business advantages. Several executives who supported James's behavior find themselves increasingly isolated as industry standards evolve. 2 resign. 3 others undergo intensive coaching and demonstrate genuine commitment to change. Amara establishes an industry coalition promoting workplace equity. Their first conference sells out within hours of announcement, with companies eager to avoid becoming the next Tech Future scandal. Former employees who left due to James's toxic leadership receive personal calls from Charles and Amara. We failed you. they acknowledge. We're working to become the company you deserved. Many return, bringing valuable institutional knowledge and renewed commitment. Tiffany, the receptionist who enabled James's behavior, has been reassigned after sensitivity training. She now works in administrative support where her performance is closely monitored. The new reception team receives specific training on equitable treatment of all visitors. David, James's former assistant, is promoted to a project management role based on qualifications that James had previously ignored. He becomes an outspoken advocate for workplace integrity within the company. The employee James publicly berated now leads a successful innovation team. Her previously dismissed ideas have generated 2 patent applications, creating significant value for the company. At an industry awards dinner, TechFuture receives recognition for Most Improved Workplace Culture. Charles credits Amara's leadership in his acceptance speech. Dr. Davis showed us that excellence and equity are not competing values, but complementary strengths. Outside the venue, Amara encounters one of James's former allies from another company. "You've started something bigger than you realize," he tells her. "My board is asking uncomfortable questions about our practices now." Amara smiles. Good. Uncomfortable questions lead to necessary change. With industry-wide changes underway, what personal impact has this journey had on Amara herself? 1 year after the fateful day in TechFuture's reception area, Amara sits in her board office reviewing the company's transformation. The walls display before and after data visualizations showing dramatic improvements in workplace equity and business performance. Sunlight streams through the windows, illuminating a space that feels fundamentally different from a year ago. Where tension once permeated the executive floor, collaborative energy now flows freely. A knock at her door reveals David, now confidently leading his own team. His posture has changed, no longer hunched in anticipation of criticism, but straight-backed and assured. "The new mentorship program matches are ready for your approval," he says, placing a folder on her desk. Amara smiles. "How's your mentee from the first cohort doing?" "Thriving," David replies with evident pride. "She just led her first client presentation." His expression turns reflective. "Remember how James said she lacked executive presence?" "I remember," Amara nods. "The client specifically requested her for all future meetings, said her approach was refreshingly direct and innovative." After David leaves, Amara receives a video call from Patricia Chen. The board chair's face appears on screen, her expression satisfied. "The industry coalition has requests from 5 more companies wanting to implement our framework," Patricia reports. "Your experience is becoming a case study at 3 business schools." "That's the goal," Amara responds. "Systemic change, not just one company's reform." Patricia's expression turns more personal. "How are you, Amara? Really?" Amara considers the question. "Validated, but more importantly, hopeful. The changes are taking root beyond our walls." Later that afternoon, Amara takes a walking meeting with Charles through the transformed office. The environment feels noticeably different, more collaborative, energetic, and diverse. Employees engage freely across hierarchical lines. Ideas flow visibly on innovation boards where anyone can contribute. "Would you believe our market valuation is up 22% since these changes?" Charles comments. "Turns out, inclusion isn't just right, it's profitable." They pass the reception area where Amara once waited for 8 hours. The space has been redesigned as a welcoming environment with clear visitor protocols, ensuring respectful treatment for everyone. "Any word on James?" Charles asks quietly. "Last I heard, he's working for a much smaller company," Amara replies. "Apparently, he's been required to complete extensive sensitivity training as a condition of employment." Charles shakes his head. "Some lessons come at a high cost." "For him and for those he harmed," Amara agrees. "But the ripple effects of accountability benefit everyone." As they complete their circuit of the office, Charles remarks, You know, when we recruited you for the board, we expected operational excellence. We didn't realize you'd transform our entire corporate culture. Amara pauses, looking out over the collaborative workspace. The most important operations are human ones. Systems are only as good as the values they embody. That evening, Amara gives the keynote address at a leadership conference. She doesn't share the humiliating details of her experience with James. Instead, she focuses on the systemic changes it inspired. The measure of a company isn't whether bias exists, it's how that bias is addressed when exposed, she tells the audience. True leadership means creating systems where respect isn't a function of perceived power or position. As she concludes her speech, Amara offers the lesson that has become her signature insight. Dignity isn't earned through titles or achievements. It's the baseline every human deserves, regardless of who's watching or what power they hold. The audience rises in standing ovation. Among them are faces representing the changing guard of corporate leadership, more diverse, more conscious, more committed to equity as a business imperative. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe to PAP Stories. We bring you powerful stories that expose injustice and celebrate triumph every week. Hit that notification bell to join our community fighting for equality and dignity in every workplace. Your support helps us continue sharing these important messages.